Welcome to VBM's Biology. Today, let us learn about esophagus and stomach. Esophagus, it is otherwise known as food pipe, which connects pharynx and stomach. So this is esophagus. This esophagus is composed of two layers of muscles and inner mucosa. On the inner side, it is covered with a layer of muscles which contains circular muscles and the outer layer of muscles is containing long muscular fibers, which is nothing but longitudinal muscles. Thus, the walls of esophagus are lined by two layers of muscles: inner layer, circular muscle layer, and outer longitudinal muscular layer. If the circular muscles contract, what happens? The circumference of the esophagus would be decreased like this. If the longitudinal muscles are contracted, slightly the length of the esophagus will be decreased and the circumference will be increased. It will be widened a little. So contraction of the circular muscles narrows the esophagus, whereas the contraction of the longitudinal muscles widens the esophagus. Now let us see how food passes through esophagus. Suppose if the food has entered in the form of bolus into esophagus, the circular muscles which are present in front of the bolus contract. So here the circular muscles contract, so it narrows. Meanwhile, the longitudinal muscles present in front of the food contracts, so it will be widened a little. So automatically bolus can be pushed down. So food bolus reaches down. Again, the circular muscles present behind it narrow, means contract, and the longitudinal muscles in front of the bolus widens, means contracts. So automatically food will be pushed down. These contractions and relaxations appear like a wave, like this, so that the food bolus is pushed down. Such a wavy movement of the food bolus through esophagus is called peristaltic movements. So food passes through esophagus by peristaltic movements. Thus it reaches stomach. So when it reaches stomach, at the entrance of the stomach there is a sphincter valve. So here is a sphincter muscle which acts as a valve. Such a sphincter present between esophagus and stomach is called cardiac sphincter. The sphincter muscle which is present in between esophagus and stomach is called cardiac sphincter. So it can be kept in memory easily if we know the three parts of the stomach. Stomach contains three parts. The first part is cardiac stomach. The middle one is fundic stomach or fundus. And the third one and the terminal part is pyloric stomach. So cardiac stomach, fundic stomach and pyloric stomach. So the valve present between esophagus and cardiac stomach is called cardiac sphincter. So we can keep it in memory easily. Thus, by passing through the esophagus, the food bolus enters into stomach through cardiac sphincter. So it is well known to us that generally we sip a gulp of water before meals. It is our Indian custom serving water before the eatables. Why? Because if we sip a gulp of water, this sphincter, the cardiac sphincter, is rinsed with water so that the food bolus can be passed freely. So it is a better practice in our Indian customs. Okay. Now the food has been entered into stomach. Now let us see the structure of stomach. Okay. Food passes through esophagus freely because of the contraction and relaxation of cardiac and longitudinal muscles. And in addition to that, the inner mucosa secretes mucus, which is greasy and which allows the food to slip down easily into stomach. In the walls of stomach, there are three types of muscles. Stomach is a circular this is the stomach, which is covered with three layers of muscles. Along the length of the total digestive system, two layers of muscles are present, inner circular muscles and outer longitudinal muscles. But in case of stomach, additionally one more layer of muscles are present, that is the innermost layer. The innermost layer of muscle fibers are present like this in a slanty way along the length of the stomach. So these muscles which are present obliquely in the stomach are said to be oblique muscles. So oblique muscles, and a layer of muscles next to oblique muscles are present around the stomach in a circular fashion, so that these muscles are called circular muscles. And one more layer of muscles are present along the length of the stomach. So automatically we can say that it is longitudinal muscles. So totally three layers of muscles are there. Innermost oblique muscles, second circular, third longitudinal. So the middle layer is the circular layer, outermost layer is the longitudinal muscular layer, whereas the innermost layer is oblique muscular layer. Thus three layers of muscles are present in the walls of the stomach. Then what is the need of these three layers? Generally we chew food well and we swallow it. After that, food will be churned well by these three layers of muscles. These muscles contract and relax. As a result, the food will be churned into a smooth porridge, which is called chyme. So to convert food into chyme, the muscles must work hard. They have to contract and relax. So if we chew thoroughly, the function of these muscles would be easier. So chew well before swallowing. If we chew too much, then the function of these muscles would be reduced high, so that the functionality of these muscles will be decreased. So we have to chew properly, which is enough to give proper workout to the muscles present in it. And at the same time, we should always leave a little gap in the stomach while feeding. Why? Because if it is fully tightened, the expansion capacity of the muscles would be tougher, and so that contraction and relaxation would not be occurred freely. Okay, thus the muscular layer play an important role in converting the food into chyme. In addition to that, the walls of the stomach are lined by a layer of digestive glands, namely gastric glands. The digestive glands that are present in the walls of the stomach are called gastric glands. So the walls of the stomach are lined by gastric glands. These gastric glands secrete gastric juice. Salivary glands secrete saliva. Similarly, gastric glands secrete gastric juice. This gastric juice contains an acid which is known to you, that is none other than HCl, hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid, it is not diluted. Very concentrated hydrochloric acid is secreted into stomach by gastric glands. Even though it is concentrated, it won't burn stomach. Why? Because the innermost layer is mucosa. That mucous membrane acts as a greasy layer and prevents the impact of HCl. If we won't take diet in time, then there is the chance for gradual damage of the stomach walls, which leads to the formation of ulcers. So that only timely diet is must. Okay, why this HCl, concentrated HCl, is present in stomach. This HCl which is present in stomach has got three functions. One is the food which is mixed with the saliva gets turned into alkaline. That alkaline food is mixed with this HCl, and so that neutralization is occurred. So neutralization of food is the function of HCl. Secondly, this HCl also play an important role in killing the germs, if any entered along with the food, killing germs. And third function also there, that is, in this gastric juice there is an enzyme, that is pepsinogen, which is inactive. Pepsinogen is the enzyme present in gastric juice. This pepsinogen is inactive. So this inactive pepsinogen is activated by HCl. So activation of pepsinogen into the active form, that is pepsin. So conversion of pepsinogen into pepsin, killing of germs, and neutralization of food are the functions of HCl. Thus HCl plays an important role which is present in gastric juice. Now let us see the working of this enzyme. So gastric juice contains an enzyme, that is pepsin. This pepsin is the active form of pepsinogen. Once if pepsin formed, this converts the remaining pepsinogen also into pepsin. This pepsin acts on proteins, and that proteins are converted into peptones. Proteins are converted into peptones by the action of pepsin. What is pepsin? Pepsin is an enzyme. What is an enzyme? An enzyme is a protein which acts as a catalyst in the life process. Here, this pepsin catalyzes the process of conversion of proteins into peptones. So it is the catalyst in the conversion of proteins into peptones. Okay, thus proteins are converted into peptones. Peptones are not the end products of proteins, these are intermediate products. So in stomach, only slight digestive changes, that is conversion of proteins into peptones, is occurred. But the main change is conversion of food into chyme and neutralization of the food, and due to the slight acidic conditions these proteins are converted into peptones by the action of pepsin. Thus partial digestion is completed in stomach. After the completion of this partial digestion, it will enter into the next part. The next part is the first part of small intestine, which is called duodenum. Duodenum. So between the pyloric stomach and duodenum, there is another sphincter muscle which is called pyloric sphincter. Here the sphincter between esophagus and stomach is cardiac sphincter, and here between pyloric stomach and duodenum there is another sphincter muscle which is called pyloric sphincter. Through pyloric sphincter, food slowly enters into the next part, that is duodenum. So here, for the complete conversion of food into chyme and for the completion of digestion of proteins into peptones, it takes at least about 4 hours of time. So we should maintain a gap between meal and meal at least 4 hours so that the process of digestion occurs effectively. Now let us see how the food undergoes changes in duodenum later in the next session. Thank you for watching.